Okay. Good morning. 10:55 a.m. on Sunday, July 12th, 2020, here in Sarasota, Florida. I'm not sure if or when this will be maybe released on my YouTube channel. Very, very few right now, in this moment on July 12th, are going to be viewing it, even if I do post it up. But I am beginning to do a in-between with the podcast. So launched my podcast. In the big scheme of things, no big deal whatsoever. In the story of the character of Allison, it marks a pretty big turning point in her work, if only because she has a plausible plan that could be, if people chose to participate, enacted in the third dimensional world and have very transparent, clear effects. And the Project of Ripple, which is a fundraising project intended to raise, separate. For most of this life, I've tiptoed around out of respect, out of compassion. I've really held back from most people the vast perspective I personally have of what is possible. And post-awakening, I have, for the first time, had given myself permission to create for myself a life based in that belief system. Not many have been willing or able to agree to see things from, again, it's just a more inclusive view. Just less restrictions, less rules, less regulation, less definition and roles and titles and hierarchy. Everybody is unique. And if you want to choose specific gifts and skill sets, yes, somebody can be better at this than somebody else is, but we all have an equally valid right to, it's okay. Okay, separation from ego. I mean, that's really what it is. It's like my mind is the pattern of my mind being so active. It's a matter of truly surrendering that and surrendering my vessel to be a channel of a different perspective all the way, and to The journey for episode 2 was very different than the journey for episode 1. In episode 2, that was the first time I was following an overall framework and actually weaving together some personal stories. And it's so strange. It's not that much different from a certain perspective, releasing these, than what I've been doing for 7+ years on my YouTube channel. But there is a difference because a podcast forces you to have more structure, and more structure presents it in a different way out in the world. Clearly, I have already gotten caught in the net. I'm still caught in my own strong personality, strong ego net. I believe and feel that the greater truth is the oneness. There's no part of me that doubts that. I keep allowing myself to, my focus and my perspective, to come back down to the much limited yet practiced and conditioned within me perspective. When I get mired in the third dimensional way of looking at things, that's when I lose my way and suffer. And I went to that dark place again. I think in my podcast I'm still working too hard, trying to consider so many different general groups of energy, how they're going to be or may receive what I'm saying. And I have particular people in mind that represent those energy streams, like that Iron Man energy, that kind of crowd, farm crowd, my family. It's so strange. I have the ability and I desire to teach and guide others from this limited perspective to living the vaster perspective. But really, it's intended to be a much closer, smaller, for me. I'm intended to have less numbers, deeper relationships, I sense, than they crack me up. Gosh. Living through COVID right now is definitely a big time game changer. It's revealing a lot. Almost don't know. I want to respect not contributing to the chaos. It's okay. Be with it. It's all right. Just I only want to engage in, I want to be part of conscious activity, conscious doing. not doing because we all have to have paychecks to pay bills. So, like consciously choosing. And it's challenging to get a read on what in your life is what when you've got so much going on and so many different in general, considering I've had hardly any human time with others, hardly any, since, when did Mom leave? April, when did she leave? March and April. She left in April. I don't know why. I pulled the camera. Why did I put the camera on? Being completely at peace, in the now moment. I don't know. Of course I miss you miss having the reflection. That reflects others agreeing to see themselves at a higher frequency. Well, need lots of guidance. I need lots of help still, always. I need guidance. I'm still making poor choices. With regards to certain things that I'm allowing into my consciousness, with regards to still not prioritizing regular expressions, of like fitness, meditation. I'm still struggling with those. I am exactly where I'm intended to be. Thankfully, I am on the other side of a pretty dark 48-hour period, 48 hours-ish. It's amazing how strong our perceptions can instantly, due to their strength, we can change our reality seemingly instantly, and I've never experienced that to the extent that I've been experiencing it in 2020, where I can be and feel like I'm clear as can be, confident, clear, okay with still standing alone in a lot of ways, literally and metaphorically. One day, and then the next day, I get sucked back into the perception of my character from the mass world, which is, being a woman who's not a mother, being somebody that does not have a pile of savings and a bunch of material things, being single with no man or mate, not having, a set career. So it's, that world definitely sees me in a hierarchical way on the low end of things. And as such, I'm limited in what I can do in that world. If you're only going to allow me to do based on your rules, I have the capabilities of doing a lot based on your rules. In my young years, I did it without knowing consciously what I was doing. I was blindly achieving, due in no small part to my wiring of being a people pleaser and my wiring of being an overachiever. I now choose to see that latter aspect as just an innate. We are all, by desire, by design, we are constantly expanding. So through our humanness, that gets defined or has been defined in the three-dimensional world as achieving in a lot of ways. Doesn't have to necessarily be represented by something you can physically see, but that is how our value system has been based on, is achievement. So overachieving, people-pleasing person that happened to excel in the areas that are highly valued in this mainstream paradigm: intellect, schooling, and athletics. So I kind of just got sucked into that by following my heart. I loved learning and I loved sports. I didn't love the framework of school. By the time I got to high school, I was middle of high school, I started to really dread the pressure I felt to have to get all A's. I did not feel any sort of negative, what I would label negative pressure as it pertained to sports. Not at all. Oh God, I love playing sports. I think it's something we should, as adults, the opportunity's there. I'm going off. I don't need to hear I know my story. I feel things differently. And there's such a deep call for change in our world. And I could guide people that genuinely wanted to experience that change. But if you want to continue, but what these times are revealing to me is that very few are really open to what you would need to do. They don't want to do the work. You want to keep being angry at something outside of you. You want to keep blaming someone or something else. You don't want to instead examine the only thing over which you have control, which is yourself. And it now falls and bleeds into all sorts of generalizations. You know, the people that are claiming to be followers of faith and teachers that were all about love are some of the ones that are full of the most hate. So I can't do anything as a teacher unless the student really wants to do the work. You can't get there from here, is all I'm saying. And I feel this call collectively deep from the collective. And I have the capabilities to speak. You know, like some people do their work behind the scenes and more quietly. No way is my personality wired in that way. I'm intended to have a voice. And I don't know for how many. I am not afraid to speak into many, but I don't, and that's just it. I do still need to hear my teachings because clearly I'm still in more the ego of Allison. I keep getting stuck back in Allison, and it's understandably so, right? It's a trick when you have this awareness that you're more than your character. I am so much more than Allison. I'm an expression of God. And when I'm really in flow, the wisdom that comes through me it's not Allison. It's just coming through Allison. It's a higher expression of Allison. It's just a vaster version of herself. But I'm still, so I'm both of those characters, if you will. And I have named my higher version, that I feel like I've danced with that version of myself, GD 410. Purposely named that the GD stands for something, and the 410 has meaning as well, and it's a self-assigned name. But I use it to delineate anytime I listen to or watch my own work, and I can tell you, okay, that's GD 410. That's Allison. And these times in the past couple of months have been a lot more Allison than GD 410. And it's ironic, really, because you would think, because I haven't experienced a lot of energy reflecting GD 410, meaning I don't take GD 410 out in the world, but with only a few people. And even those few people, I don't necessarily feel like they even see what I refer to as GD 410 in the way that I do. So I'm accepted out in the world only as these limited versions of Allison. So you would think that when that's taken away temporarily here, I have hardly any interactions, thus reflection, projection, exchange with other humans in 3 months now. So you would think, and I've been consciously trying to, I was going to say dive back into, but it's really rising into my world of work again, which is living, making my life GD 410, the energy of GD 410. Well beyond the limited human character of Allison. You would think that if that was all I was focusing on, I'd be able to be, in some ways, the best version of GD 410. And that has not been the case. Because my reflection projections are coming in these limited ways, you know, social media, email, to a lesser degree, emails, and and then putting these recordings out, and I don't know who's receiving, I know very few care, but the ones that do, I desire that to be a more in-depth connection. And I just don't see another way to attract the next level of energy with which I'm supposed to primarily interact. I don't see any other way, especially with life as it is during COVID times right now, than to put it out there fearlessly on the universal, Ethernet, internet, and out in the universe there, and, trust. But it's such a trip, again, because my mind's too active and I overthink everything. I'm just in this, I'm in both places, and I'm living that multidimensionality awareness, and I feel as if I just need to get better with knowing, but I don't want to play the character of Allison. Like, I'm trying to be, but Allison, what people agree to see as Allison, it's new. I only have a few that are willing to agree to see the more expanded version of Allison. And I know that will come with more folks who are working to choose to believe for real that a different reality is possible, a higher frequency of peace, love, harmony, cooperation. You definitely won't experience it if you don't believe in it. But what I'm learning is, even when you believe in it, breaking the habits in all these different ways, these insidious ways of where you self-sabotage yourself from that happier, peaceful, more enjoyable version. And, I know that version is going to happen down the linear idea of time. So whether it happens in my life or not, what I'm working through is trusting, knowing that the work I'm being called to do, which is releasing my journey, is going to serve, if the transition is actually happening now, which is very distinctly possible, given the literal fucked up insanity of the entire planet right now because of this virus, it is very possible that one of many narratives, that a very real shift globally, huge, the entire, specifically financially is shifting at this moment, is entirely possible. And if not, if it's another, however long down the linear timeline, I have to trust and remember and truly believe for real, if I believe it, which I do, but it's being tested, because if I really believe it has value whenever it's viewed by whomever it's viewed, and just accept that it still could mean very few people are going to be drawn, and a lot of people are going to probably change their energy opinion of me, thoughts of me. It could prevent some work going forward. I have to trust and be okay with all of that. And I think this podcast has been the means through which this particular growth on this step of the journey is, it's been the catalyst. And that is why I need to keep going week by week with the episodes. Even if I'm feeling, oh God, no one gives a shit. Why do you even, that's what I'm struggling with. Like, why am I talking to hear myself talk? And I'd have to remember it's more than what it is on the surface. I have to remember all these things that I put out there in recordings after recordings. I've always said I'm talking to myself just as much as I'm talking to anybody else. And really it's being revealed present day to what degree that's true. Because I've been in Allison, mired in the worry and fear of 3D issues and crap than the higher perspective, which should always be, whatever it is, It is, like, holy cow, be grateful you have savings. Stop bitching that you're blowing through it. You have savings and you have somebody, at least somebody with some financial means, you know, should the systems all stay in place, offering you support. Like, you have nothing to be worried about right now. Whereas many others in that 3D reality right now, if they don't get their unemployment, like I'm not getting any now, they have very real, they got to address what that means. Whereas I'm not in that position. I'm not in that position for the foreseeable next few months. And that's an eternity when you start living in the now moment. And I know these things, like I know them in my heart to be true, but living it is a totally different thing. And I want to be living it. But what I'm learning is to live it at the extent that I claim to believe it. Boy, oh boy, it's the real thing. And I can't not keep following it. Whatever that means, you know, like in this case, if I lose almost everybody that's an acquaintance or friend in my life right now, I don't want to. I have very close colleagues and work relationships with quite a few people, but the truth is I don't really have I don't have friends outside of all my work things. I have work friends and great close relationship with my work friends, but I don't have but a very few number of friendships that I really risk losing. I don't want to lose any of them. I don't want to lose my work friends. But if I continue to be as authentic, you know, really allow my more expanded version to come in. And that doesn't mean forcing my beliefs upon people, but there's a time where certain truth must be spoken. And I'm just still really, I'd rather err on the side of not speaking enough than speaking too much. Especially right now, because there's so much chaos and clutter. And again, all I'm really feeling and seeing with people's reactions, a lot of people aren't really interested in they want to keep being angry. You want a different reality, then you gotta come out of the anger and the blame and the us versus them. And you gotta see even the worst crap as necessary and choose to focus on practicing a different foundation. And yeah. Anyway, I still have to do, I got 6 days, 5.5 days to do episode 3, but I need to trust that, I haven't done a recording yet. I think this is sort of, in some way, a little bit of a practice. This will not serve for anybody other than me. Yeah. So, yeah. Not really worth anything, but we just captured a little